Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Performance Panel on Thursday, the 25th of June, 2026. My name is Councillor Ellie Close and I will be chairing this meeting. When speaking, please do not obstruct your mouth to enable lip reading or the use of closed captions. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarm sounds, please exit the way you came in. Please ensure that all mobile phones are switched to silent. Please could we have brief introductions around the room and then those, if any, on Teams. We'll start with Councillor Snape, please.
Kim Snape, I represent Adlington and Anderton Ward.
Good evening, everybody. Councillor Michelle Brown, representing Clayton West and Curedon.
Good evening, everybody. Russ Green, representing Buckshaw and Whittle Ward.
Neil Holton, Director of Finance.
Bev Murray, Executive Member for Early Intervention and Councillor for Chorley South East and Heath Charnock Ward.
Caroline Wolfenden, Director of Change and Delivery.
Peter Wilson, Deputy Leader of the Council and Executive Member for Resources.
Asim Khan, Director for Customer and Digital Services.
Councillor Adrian Law, Exec Member for Customer, Street Scene and Environment and one of the councillors for Chorley North and Astley.
Alison Wilding, Head of Customer Services.
Robert Heath, Associate Head of Digital Services.
Chris Walmsley, Head of Street Scene and Waste.
Arjun Singh, Vice Chair and representing Eccleston, Heskin and Charnock Richard.
And have we received any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've received apologies from Councillor Craig Southern. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 1, declarations of any interests. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda. Does anyone have any interest they wish to declare? Nope, fabulous. So let's move on to item 2, minutes of the last meeting held on Thursday, the 5th of March 2026. Are there any issues to raise from the minutes of the last meeting? No. Are the members happy to approve the minutes as an accurate record? And do I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Fabulous. Are all the members happy to approve these minutes? Thanks. So let's move on to agenda item 3, Chorley Quarter 4 Performance Monitoring Report 25-26. Councillor Peter Wilson, Executive Member for Resources, will present the report, supported by Caroline Wolfenden, Director of Change and Delivery. Councillor Beverley... Okay, thank you. Councillor Beverley Murray, Executive Member for Early Intervention, is also in attendance. I'd like to now invite Councillor Wilson to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I shall give an overview of the report. Forgive me, I've not brought my glasses, so if I misread or give a figure that's not correct, that's my excuse for this evening. Overall, Chair, as the report outlines, the performance in quarter 4 has been good, with 100% of the corporate strategy projects rated as green or complete. And then on the indicators, we've got the 75% of the corporate strategy measures and 67% of the key service measures are performing again on or above target. So if we may just go through some of the highlights in terms of the projects. We said we would deliver the temporary accommodation at Gillibrand Street. That's now being completed, so we can get some better facilities for families who are finding themselves homeless or in between accommodations. We've introduced the weekly food waste collections, which obviously Councillor Lowe has led on. We've done the refresh of the climate change strategy, and we've got a number of actions there delivered against to match against the action plan that was again delivered by the group. We've delivered the biodiversity strategy, again something that this is comes from the climate change working group, looking at habitat enhancement and biodiversity duty monitoring, etc. We've also delivered delivering the decarbonisation of the town hall. As we can see with the scaffolding around the building, we can see the works being done to windows, the roof, etc. We've also maximised the availability of affordable housing in the borough, and again that's working on the affordable housing plan that has been before us, plus the tenancy strategy, which I think came to the Cabinet last week. And then we've also delivered the second phase of the Destination Management Plan, which obviously incorporates all our events and seeks to bring in more people to the area through promotion of tourism and promotion of, like I say, those events which bring people in. Hopefully then people might spend more money here, who might decide to move here. So again, those events have gone very well from this year. We've had already the 10K picnic, and then we'll be moving on to the flower show very, very soon. So some of the big events due to come. In terms of the indicators, Chair, we just again look at some highlights there. We can see that we've overachieved in the delivery of affordable homes. Again, in terms of improving parks, open spaces and playing pitches, again, we've delivered ahead of our target. Town centre vacancy rate is the lowest it has been for 3 years at just over 7.3%. We've supported 351 community groups. We've helped prevent a number of homeless situations occur. We've also created a significant number of jobs, 154, again, just above the target of 150. We've been double the target in terms of business engagement. So again, we've significantly exceeded that target. And the number of benefit claimants in Chorley continues to be better, i.e. lower, than that of the average for Lancashire or across the country. And the number of leisure centre visits, again, has exceeded target. So there's a number of areas where we're performing strongly, but if I may, Chair, just turn to a couple where we are off target, just I know members are always interested in improving performance. And the first one I'll come to is the number of people not in education, employment and trading, NEETs, which we've seen a lot of press about nationally as well as locally. What you can see there is in Q4 we got 4.6% against a target of 3.9. So it is not a million miles off, but it is over target, which is always of concern. What we can see is we can compare this time last year. It is moving in the right direction. It is moving downwards, but obviously we want it to be even lower. So I think the report highlights a couple of areas where we've done some one-to-one work with individuals to try and sort of break down those barriers and see if we can get them back into employment and education. I know work's being done with the youth zone. Again, I'm sure Councillor Murray does know a lot more than me about this subject, but it's important that we keep doing that targeted work in order to try and get that back on target. And the other area where we are slightly off target is the percentage increase in visitor numbers. So there has been an increase of 1.4%, but our target is 2%. So again, we are looking to make sure that our work that we're doing through the destination management plan and through the events, flower show being a key one, is that we do maximise our opportunities there in terms of increasing the footfall into the borough. I think it's important to have a challenging target, and it is, particularly when you look at all the competing things that go on in neighbouring areas, and obviously times people where they spend their money as well is always difficult. So it's important that we continue to work with our partners, and we work with the various networks that we are engaging with to make sure that we do everything we can. But that's something that hopefully this year again we'll see an improvement towards. On that point, Chair, I shall pause in terms of overview and happy to take questions.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Do any of our members have any questions or comments they'd like to raise? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, and thank you for the report. Some good news across there again, but I just had a couple of questions. One on NEETs, and I recognise that it is a better position than this time last year. I'm just wondering if we've got an update on the procurement exercise, because we're at the end of June now, and we haven't had that service now for a number of weeks, and we know it impacted on Q4. And then I had another question just around the amber position on the council tax and business rates, and the percentages are incredibly close to the target, that they're close. But I just wondered if we knew the financial value, the impact of both of those.
Sorry, Chair, if I may take that one on council tax, if I could, and then I'll defer to Councillor Murray on these. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Councillor Brown. It's a fraction off, but also I think at Cabinet last week we reported this compared to last year's, and of course we've seen it almost identical. So it was that question of pushing our target really as much as we could to max out. But I think when we checked, we did get it checked by ASIM, I think we are the second highest in Lancashire in terms of recovering, in terms of receiving council tax and business rates. So I think somewhere in the region of 96%. is a very strong performance. In terms of what the value is of the difference, on the top of my head, I don't know. I'd have to get Neil to, or ask him to find an exact figure. I could make a guess, but I'm not going to guess. Oh, Alison knows. There you are. Alison knows. There are other people behind me who do know.
Yeah, the shortfall value is just below £100,000. But you probably already know that Chorley Council only retain 10% of council tax revenue. So the impact on the council itself is £9,909.
And on needs, I think Councillor Murray is better placed than I.
Yeah, do you want to come in now?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the bidding process is closed and the bids are currently being scored at the moment. What I would say is the work we did previously has helped us inform what we need to do moving forward. So again, this year, the biggest majority of needs are in the 16 to 17 cohort. And we understand that some of the barriers are sort of caring responsibilities, low readiness for employment, lack of routine within the home and family, travel limitations and financial drivers. So what we also found out was that when we did group work, people tended to drop out. So this time we were looking to do more one-to-one based work and also work with more local providers like the council and schools and colleges, and alongside that establish sort of direct links with employers so people can get some real sort of experience in the workplace, because school doesn't actually suit everybody and college doesn't necessarily suit everybody. So last time was a useful exercise, but moving forward we're looking to sort of finesse it with a more sort of personalised approach.
Thank you. Does Councillor Green want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. Just two questions. First of all, I'll just go on additional on the needs. So, from my understanding, we've actually made things worse in terms of the figures by actually spending more effort to understand our needs. So, it says we've improved the tracking, so we've identified more needs. So, in some ways, we've been damned by identifying it, and then also, so that's correct from my understanding there, is it? Yeah. And then the other bit was. In terms of the figures, you don't offload the needs until they're actually confirmed going into education. Is that so? You've got a number lined up already to go into education, and then they get offloaded in from the figures when they go in. Is that?
Yeah. So what we expect is that a minimum of young people aged between 16 to 24 must be onboarded and supported by the bids going forward.
Yeah.
And a minimum of 35 young people should be successfully moved out of disengagement and into some sort of education, training or employment.
Yeah,
So that's
cool.
the targets. And also that we have some follow-up tracking to make sure that they're sort of sorted. Sorry, I did put that on. Good job, there's nobody online. And then, just to make sure that we keep an eye on them,
Yeah.
to make sure that they are still engaged.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Bev. And then the second one was for you, Peter. In terms of on the graph on page 18, I was not quite sure what the graph was showing me on that, because it seems like the figures go well over 100% for Q3 and 22 and then 23, and it sounds, I don't know what's going on there, because it makes it sound like there's been a big drop off in numbers. So, and also the scale in the graph seems to be a bit odd as well. So I don't know what that's really telling us there.
I think, yeah, I think you're right. If you look at it from quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, it's sort of up and down all over the place, which is where they've gone to or where they come from.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems we've had, and we've mentioned this before, is a lot of our figures that we produce in these reports are relying on others to give them to us. So, for example, Lancashire County Council being one of the biggest significant collectors of that data. And I think sometimes it's only as good as the process perhaps that's used to collect it. And a bit like what you were just saying to Councillor Murray, if you go and look for these people, you find them. If you don't, you don't. And I think some of that might be reflected in there as well as to when some of that work's kicked in terms of actually digging into the... Sorry, Asim's talking to me. So I think that might be some of that, and therefore what I was going to say, the point of what I was going to make, because if you look back in previous years, it's the same, isn't it, as this sort of up and down, is just to follow the trend, on a 12-month basis rather than on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, just when you compare a Q3 from 22, 23, that says over 100%, and then it's like, so I don't know, do others consider this for reporting? I think if you're representing this in future, that I don't know, that graph needs looking at. Also, the scaling of it. Cause
I mean, we're always happy. I mean, we've done this before, Chair. Sorry, just through you. When members have made suggestions about how we report things, and we can always change things if it suits. You know, the committee's view. Obviously, that's your choice, not for us as executive members to say. Yeah, so if you think there's a more useful way of doing it, or something you'd rather see, do feed it back, because this isn't sort of hard and fast the only way we can do it.
You've got the scale. You've actually got a 2% target, so that line's it's just like highlighting and making the bottom line bolder. So it's just but in terms of the figures again, so it says that date's for 2004, is it? So it's two years out of date. From, it says the date of. Is that what it says? Is that what it's showing me? Is it on the? So that's on page 18. And the
I'm with you.
Yeah, see the graph is a bit. Or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then it's on the third paragraph, or actually the third sentence, says the date of. So are these figures effectively for? Yeah, they are for 2000.
Yeah. So
the fact all the best in Lancashire in one place, that hasn't.
No. No. This is the thing. This is only again the figures that we're given, and it is, as you say, it is 24. So you are well behind.
Yeah.
Again, unless we start. I'm not suggesting this, don't panic, Caroline, but let's actually started sort of doing completely our own counts and views of doing it. You know what I mean? Ways of doing it. Then that you are again, you're relying on other people to help, as it were. So it's not always straightforward. But yeah, you are a little bit behind there. So in theory, we could always be on target now.
Yeah, I think so, certainly with all the stuff we've done on Shorefest and the Chorley Flower Show, that's growing and growing in numbers. It just the figures didn't quite seem right to me, but and then just a slight one on in terms of language. I think that very last sentence, it says Chorley is one of only 8. I would, that's actually 57% of 14. So probably the language is trying to sound a little bit too optimistic there. I mean, if it was to say we're in the top 5 of 14, that sounds a bit better. The language sort of is almost trying to sound a bit more positive when it doesn't. Well, I don't think it really needs to.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit of a challenge on language on that front. So, but yeah, looking forward to seeing what the figures come in.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Councillor Snape.
Thank you. What is that? I thought that was a signal. I just had 2 questions, if possible. One was on page 46, number of long-term empty properties. I know the target is only 150 and it's only slightly over, but I don't think I've ever seen it as high over the last couple of years. I think last couple of years, and when we've had task groups and stuff previously, I think I recall it was at one point even lower than 100. And I know in comparison to other parts of Lancashire and other parts of the country, it's not a major issue as such, but I know there's quite a comprehensive, in the commentary section, there's quite comprehensive detail as to how that 156 stack up. But I just wondered if it's going to be a performance indicator without knowing how they stack up. Is there going to be any effort just to try and at least try and bring that down slightly? Otherwise, it's just going to continue to stack up. It's just going to go higher and higher and then reflect on. And then just my second question was on page 30, I think it was. Just trying to find it. It was regarding the on the housing bit. On the left-hand side, it talks about establishing effective reporting systems to monitor allocations made by the Select Move platform to align with the updated allocations policy and improve user experience. I know it's green, but I don't think that seems to be addressed in the progress update section, because I just wondered, where are we up to in terms of establishing effective reporting systems? Because I know every time Select Move comes up in discussions, we say, what are the allocations like? What's the migration like from other parts of the country, other parts of Lancashire, all that type of stuff. And I know we've now got the new Select Move is now fixed, isn't it? So hopefully. But where is that reporting up to, please? Thank you.
On the first point, Councillor Snape, yes is the answer. We are still working to reduce long-term empty properties, so it's not something that we hope it won't go up and up and up. So I believe in Q1 for this year, it'll be 144 empty properties, so that'll be below target, obviously. So it is always work in progress, and there is, as you know, there are those properties which won't budge for all sorts of reasons. But as and when they come up on that that empty property for over 2 years, that's still a target for this council, so there is still work being done. So obviously the fact that it's come down from one quarter to the other is evidence, but it's got to, as you say, you've got to keep at it and you've got to keep doing it, otherwise it does drift and move away. In terms of the detail on the reporting of the select move monitoring, as it were, I will have to ask Councillor Hilton or the director, Jennifer, to answer your question. So, as I know, obviously, when I come to do these reports, Chair, I am there to report on the performance targets, not the detail of each individual action plan. I can't possibly know every action that every council, the officer takes in this council, so I apologise, but I'll have to forward that on. I try to know everything, but I fail regularly.
Councillor Green, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, just a couple more. Just in terms of housing where residents can live well. Just a bit of a query for me. It's just so we're not actually building any. Chorley's not actually building any housing, is it? Or just we're encouraging building of affordable bit. Do we have any plans going forward to do any future build?
In terms of, is the council building any housing of its own? No, not at the moment. No.
Yeah,
No. Now, I think the interesting question around that is, I mean, obviously, yes, we are encouraging it because, well, I say encouraging it. What we do is make sure that we have a percentage contribution of affordable homes in any development. So normally it sits around 20%, but sometimes we try and push for more.
Yeah.
Sometimes developers come back and argue viability against that, so you're getting for an exchange of opinions. So no, we don't build our own, but obviously one of the opportunities, perhaps, if local government reform takes place, is that it can put you back into that space.
Yeah, cool. And then just a general, it's probably just a general one for reporting actually. So one of the things, when I've gone through this, it says, for each of the various areas, it's got, you've got a number of key deliverables. And then when I've read in here, I was trying to map against where we were with each of those key deliverables. Personally, for me, I don't know how the other members feel, but personally for me, it would have been nice for each of the deliverables just to have a statement against where we are with them, because there's a few there when I've gone public consultation, for example, on HMOs, and I'm going, I can't quite see where we are when that's happening and all that sort of stuff. So while the progress update, it's got lots of good stuff in it, I can't map it against each of the deliverables. So I just something to consider going forward is against each deliverable, if I had a statement of where we were with them. If it was something to say, this is going to be in Q4, that's all you need. Just so to me, it just helped that mapping exercise, and then I can maybe ask some questions, see whether we are on track to deliver those consultations, for example, like that. So just an observation in terms of reporting that I think would help.
Yeah, noted, and again, like I said before, we can make changes to the things the reports are presented. So if it helps, we'll try.
They don't need to be War and Peace, like I said. It's
no,
just, if you can
I understand what the point. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Does any other members have any comments or questions? Councillor Singh?
Just some comments and questions, if that's okay. Just on page 16, obviously in terms of the needs, obviously everybody knows it's a topic that we always talk about. So just keep it brief and just say, obviously, pleased to see it's going down, but obviously it still shows that work still needs to be done. But it seems as though we're getting on with that, so that's good to hear. In terms of agenda page 18, just before I come on to my question, I've just noticed, obviously, South Ribble don't seem to be doing well on that graph, but that's just a note to members. And secondly is, in terms of this destination plan that we've had, what evidence is there that this destination plan is obviously increasing the trade?
Okay, so if we look at the, if I take one example, which is last year's flower show, so after the destination management plan was then 1 year old, obviously, and we increased our numbers to that by about 3,500, 4,000 from the previous year in terms of visitor numbers. So that was a positive. In terms of the 10K this year, again, that was, if I look at both in terms of numbers of people who signed up plus the actual revenue into the council. That was higher than ever before. Could I even claim that lower town centre vacancy rates is linked to the destination management plan because there's more shops opening and less empty spaces because there's more people in town spending money? I could probably put a decent argument together to try and claim it. Whether I can actually evidentially prove it, and that's another thing. But I think at the minute it's that anecdotal stuff. Obviously, as we said with this Tourism Lancashire reporting, as it were, is always of this lag. So we won't know, obviously, till next year in terms of this year. But I think anecdotally, the things that the destination management plan has tried to boost, which is and use the events to boost that sort of network of people who come into Chorley and to operate with other people such as Tourism Lancashire and other bodies, I think there is reasonable evidence so far that we're definitely going in the right direction. But obviously we won't know for as a fact in terms of visitor numbers until it's reported later.
Well, that's positive. That's good to hear. Just one point is a bit off topic, but I was in the lakes at the weekend and in Grisdale, so the middle of the forest, and they've got a little cafe Ambio, is it? Same as the one on Astley Hall. And there's a poster in there saying come and visit Chorley, which I thought, last place I'd expect, but wow.
Happy days. If we're in the lakes, we're doing well.
Yeah. The next question, obviously, just in regards to climate change, I think we all realise after this heat wave, climate change is quite key. We all need to be doing a bit better. So my question is obviously, that it's positive that projects are progressing, but in terms of the residents, what practical benefits are they seeing, such as lower emissions being reduced, energy costs coming down, and better greener spaces for them?
Okay, so in terms of, I think there's a couple of levels to this. We actually do have and have had a number of schemes about energy efficiency and helping people in the homes, actually advising them what to do in terms of ways to save energy and ways to reduce, help keep your bills down. We've actually offered practical support to businesses as well and in grants in that work. So again, that helps reduce the carbon output. Obviously, as a council, we also have to set the example, which is, again, we can see in terms of council buildings. We've got our Chorley's Wild weekend, of course, on Saturday. Don't miss that. Please go to Astley Park and look at all the wonderful work that, again, is being done about improving habitats, about improving air quality, about improving and promoting ways, again, of saving energy and so on. So I think you've got the council's job, which is to lead by example, and hopefully others will follow. You've got a practical support in terms of people's energy bills, and then on top of that, coming to your green spaces point, we saw in the report that we've delivered more improvements to open parks and green spaces than we set as a target, so in Q4, so you can see again that we're exceeding that and doing even more, which has been backed up last year with 8 green flags, was it, Councillor Lowe? 8 green flag awards for our parks again. So I think we're in a good space, but as you say, Councillor Singh, you're absolutely right, you can always do more, and you can always sort of stretch the envelope, and you can, and we'll have to do what we can. All I always say about anything on these projects is let's make sure it's realistic and that we're not getting carried away and we're spending money where there's no real benefit. You know, just that's not got to be targeted, it's got to be effective, and it's got to make improvements for people.
No, completely agree with you. Just on that, just a last question from me. Just on agenda page 30, obviously in terms of this affordable housing, we note that obviously status is that it's in delivery and the rating's green, but is there an actual target number of housing, and how are we against that target?
So again, if we go back, sorry, let me just find the right place. I apologise. So again, in terms of affordable housing, so in the last quarter we delivered 96 against a target of 75.
Thank you. Does anyone else on the panel have any more questions? Nope. Fabulous. Thank you to the executive members and officers for their attendance. Are there any comments or recommendations the panel wish to make?
Just on the one I mentioned about looking at where we could report against each of the deliverables, so that's effectively the recommendation going forward for future reports. So.
Okay, well. So with that, is everybody happy to agree to note the report? Excellent, thank you. So let's move on to item number 4, performance focus, customer and digital. Councillor Adrian Lowe, Executive Member for Customer, Street Scene and Environment, will present the report, supported by Asim Khan, Director of Customer and Digital. The following officers are also in attendance: Robert Heath, Associate Head of Digital Services, Alison Wilding, Head of Customer Service, and Chris Wormsley, Head of Street Scene and Waste. I'd now like to invite Councillor Lowe to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the remarks about my support network in terms of the officers that are going to back me up for any technical questions. If I can give an overview to the report, which is extremely detailed, and I'd like to thank you, Chair, and also members of the panel for the invitation to do the performance of the customer and digital part of the directorate. It gives you the report gives you a flavour of what my portfolio has delivered over the past year in genuinely challenging operating conditions, with tighter public finances, cost of living pressures for our residents, and competition for skilled staff, which we'll come on to highlight. But an overview is that I'm incredibly proud of what my directorate has achieved. Across my portfolio, we employ 181 committed staff. We manage a budget of 7.9 million and we serve 54,000 households. In addition, my portfolio has contributed to corporate savings of 329,000 for the last year, helping to offset wider financial pressures across the council, and the council's continued contribution, both strategically and through targeted resource allocation, has been fundamental to sustaining our services. I want to place on record at this point, Chair, my thanks to all the staff within my directorate who deliver the services, in effect, on mine and the council's behalf. My portfolio undertakes work that touches every neighbourhood every day. My responsibilities include 3 of the council's most visible frontline services in customer service, street scene, waste and recycling, and digital services. Taken together, the past 12 months have been about improving the way residents experience the council, whether that's by getting in touch with us, stepping out onto the street, or interacting with us online. If I go through each section very briefly, Chair, in customer service, we answered nearly 75,000 calls and over 20,000 online and face-to-face contacts, while introducing web chat and modern self-service points that give people more convenient ways to reach us. This effort saw satisfaction climb by 9 percentage points to 79%, even though the target is just short of 80%. So that's quite an achievement. We also achieved National Customer Service Excellence accreditation. At the same time, despite the cost of living crisis, council tax stayed in the upper quartile locally, and we directed over £126,000 in discretionary housing payments to those who needed it the most. Out in the communities, our street scene and grounds maintenance teams delivered over 30 community impact projects, new footpaths, car parking resurfacing, safer crossings and enhanced cemetery safety work, including improved pathway maintenance, memorial inspections and boundary fencing, making neighbourhoods safer and more welcoming. They exceeded the targets right across the board, from litter bin emptying and grass cutting to winter work, while tackling environmental crime with almost 2,500 enforcement actions under a robust new environmental crime policy. On waste, our food waste collection service has started to be embedded. It was implemented from the 13th of April, and reports will be coming back through Cabinet, etc. But at the moment, I think it's 260 tonnes of food waste that have been successfully collected. Our garden waste service grew to more than 25,500 subscriptions, bringing in just over £1 million of income to the council. Behind the scenes, our digital services team have overcome recruitment difficulties by introducing a new service model built on partnerships, internal progression and staff retention. That resilient workforce handled over 6,500 help desk calls, with 99.6% of users rating the service 4-star or higher. We've also put in place the strategic building blocks we need for the future, including an infrastructure strategy with agreed investment, a cyber security strategy to protect our data, and a responsible artificial intelligence policy, and a new digital strategy that will modernise how we work and enhance the customer experience, and ensuring that our customers are digitally included. Alongside that, a major CCTV upgrade programme is now underway to keep our public spaces safe, and there'll be further reports coming forward in the next couple of months on that basis. It's down to the dedication of the staff, Chair, right across my portfolio that makes this happen, and I want to put on record my sincere thanks to every single one. As you've mentioned, Chair, I'm happy to take any questions, but I've got the Director and the 3 heads of service for any technical or operational questions, but I commend to the panel the very detailed report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Do any of our members have any questions they'd like to make? Councillor Snape?
Thank you. I just had 2 questions. Point 28 on page 8 regarding the large bulky collection service. It says 99% of over 1,600 collections collected on time. I just wondered if there's any information about what that time frame is, because I know anecdotally last few months I've had 1 or 2 examples where people have reported back to me that they've been waiting over a month, and then they've decided that it wasn't worth the effort if they had to wait that length of time. And I just wondered what is the sort of target wait time or completion time. And then my second point was on point 30, the public realm agreement. I think congratulations to Chris Walmsley for securing additional money off the County Council. And I just wondered on the point where it says LCC has also agreed to further increases, particularly as new areas are adopted and the council's maintenance responsibilities increase. Is the communication now sort of adequate, if you will, with the County Council when new estates are getting adopted? Because I know in the past there's been significant time lapse between them getting adopted and telling Chorley Council. Sometimes it's been years, so obviously I won't want you to then be owed money going back years. But is that process now more robust? And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If for the question on paragraph 28, I'll ask Chris Walmsley, the head of street scene, to answer the points about the ins and outs of bulky waste collection. On paragraph 30 of the report about the public realm agreement, it is an achievement to get the agreement of the increase from our colleagues at Lancashire County Council, because for a number of years the amount of money that we've had to deal with the public realm agreement has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled, even though the expectation has gone up. So I'll ask Chris to answer those particular points on 28 and 30, Chair.
Thank you. So in terms of large item collections, that's based on the day it's booked for. So is it completed on the day it's booked for? So I don't think that really covers the point that you're making in terms of the wait time. That's not really calculated. I know we've been doing some work in terms of the integration for the calendars, and we're expecting to see that come on line relatively soon, and that should improve that process for residents, make things a little bit easier for them, and provide a lot more clarity in terms of when those appointments are available. But yeah, that 99% is based on if you booked it for the 3rd of July, did we collect it on the 3rd of July? And then in terms of the second point, I suppose, yes, the communication's definitely got better with LCC, and we've got a mechanism now for when new estates are adopted, and clearly there are maintenance responsibilities for Chorley Council in order to address those. So through our asset management system, we can plot those, measure them, and that's what the payments, the increases are going to be based on in terms of the commitment. From what I've seen in terms of new estates coming through, that process is working fine now in terms of LCC notifying us. I can't say with certainty that none have slipped through the net, because if Kenty don't tell us about them, then I don't know about them. But the ones that I know of, the process has worked fine.
Does that answer your questions?
Just on the first one, on the bulk, maybe it's worth thinking about for the future, because I get what you're saying. If I book an appointment for 10th of September, is my bulky waste collection picked up on the 10th of September? But giving people some estimation as to, you know, we're now on the, what date is it, the 25th of June. If you ring up Friday the 26th of June, it's likely that you'll have to wait X amount before your first available slot is. But that sounds like it may get improved if you talk about an online calendar. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, and thank you. It is a really comprehensive report and well summarised as well. I've got a few questions, and I'll start with a couple that are on the report itself, which I'm still a little bit confused. That's easily done though, so it will be me. In terms of the 5 corporate strategy indicators in the report, I think it's missing council tax and business rates, and they're classed as a local indicator. But in the previous report, they're classed as a corporate strategy indicator that we've just seen. So it's pedantic, I know, but I'm just thinking about that triangulation between the 2 reports. So when you check back at the one that we've just done previously, it's called a corporate strategy indicator, both of those. And we've just had that discussion, but in here we haven't put it in the 5. I think it should be 7, or it's just worth looking at. Could we just check that? Rather than just being the local ones. This one will be my understanding, and that's the difference between paragraph 39 and 49. On 39, it talks about the average days for processing housing benefits being maintained at 3.72 days. Point 49, though, says the same, or maybe it's not the same thing, is off target at 12.84 days. Are they different things? Because the paragraphs read really the same to me. So that's the first set of questions. Sorry.
Could I ask Alison Wilding, please, Chair, to answer those particular questions?
Yes, certainly. So in relation to the average days to process, the first indicator that you referred to is for processing changes and claims combined, and the latter indicator is just claims in isolation. So if somebody has a change in circumstances, there's a separate indicator for that.
We'll probably just need to clarify that in the report, just to make it really clear that they're two different things. And then in terms of the 12.84 days, and obviously considering cost of living, etc., I know we've got an improvement plan. How confident are we that we're going to see an improvement in that figure to get it back to the target position?
Yeah, so we have been focusing on new claims. Our performance at the end of Q1 for changes is really, really good. Claims is a similar position to what it was at the end of Q4. So we are switching the focus so that we're prioritising new claims. We have recently recruited some new staff. We have some apprentices. So we've expanded on our apprenticeship programme, and we've also had some new officers come into the team as well. So we're obviously working through training and development with those staff. So as that progresses, the days to process should improve as well.
Okay, that's great, thank you. That's good to hear. I think it's one that we need to just watch because obviously it's so important for our residents. In terms of, sorry, can I keep going? Sorry. In terms of the So I know we've got a new telephony system, so when we're looking at customer satisfaction and how we're answering calls, etc., the new telephony system was implemented in April. I think I'm just wondering if there's any update on how that's going. Do we think that's having a positive impact? Obviously, implementation of new things can drive out other issues. I'm just wondering if there's an update on that.
Yeah, can I ask Asim to deal with this one, please?
Yes, through the chair. So the telephone system has been in place for a number of years. What you're referring to is enhancement to that system, which has been implemented purely because we don't feel that we get enough responses in relation to our customer satisfaction indicator. We use a number of ways to engage with customers to try and get feedback. That is proving very, very challenging. You get two extremes. Usually within that indicator, it's generally tends to be people who are unhappy. So there are two challenges. One, we have limited people participating in the surveys to tell us about the service. And secondly, the only people who tend to tell us about how the service is doing is generally people who are unhappy. And so that kind of skews the performance, even though the performance has increased over the last year, certainly to Q4, to 79%. The new technology will be a way of looking at sentiment and listening to particular tones and particular types of words, which will automatically give us a significantly more enhanced understanding of what our customers and residents feel when they ring the council. And that will give us a better indicator in terms of what levels of satisfaction we're achieving with that interaction.
Thank you. That's a really interesting development. I didn't realize. I'll be careful when I ring. Very pleasant voice, obviously. Does it? I mean, we talked in the past about things like abandoned calls being one of the measurements here as well. So, are we still? We haven't been monitoring those. Does this cover that, or are we still looking at that as well?
Yeah, we have significant information and data in relation to call centre performance. That includes abandon rates, time of interaction, call-off times, a variety of different indicators. Not all of those get reported. That is very much for shared with the executive member in regular briefings and for management purposes, because obviously we need to understand how we are performing and what we need to do to try and improve that. So there's a wealth of data available behind the scenes. So anything you're particularly interested in, I'm more than happy to provide that.
I am really interested in that, but yes, thank you. And lastly, I just want to say congratulations on the services and the awards, the accreditations, etc. Well deserved. So yeah, well done, everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Green, please.
Thanks, Chair. So first of all, I just want to say, Adrian, that when you were praising your team, though it's well deserved, you've got a very, very, very strong team. Just in terms of the day-to-day stuff I do, on the environmental crime team, I've had a number of engagements with people like James Walker, who's an outstanding officer and very, very good. So I'd like to put him on record and say well done to him because he's very supportive. Likewise, Chris as well, yourself. I know quite often I'm sort of sending you emails on a Monday morning. I appreciate your support and timeliness to deal with the stuff I raise. In terms of the community impact projects, again, just on from my ward, just on the zigzag path and the Polo Park area, certainly the zigzag path has made a massive difference for residents that go from the village and trying to get down to the church and the school. So it's made a big difference for accessibility to people. So, and I really appreciate you finding the money on that. I know we had a number of discussions around that. And thanks very much for that. So that's really, really positive there. Just on a question on the customer services. Again, Alison, you came and talked to us on the neurodiversity one. So thanks very much for your support on that. And I was really pleased to hear what how you've taken that into consideration. Just want to re-emphasise the point in terms of the customer services. I know you've done a lot of stress testing of the system to get people to see how flexible the system is and how usable it is. Again, it's just re-emphasising the point made at the committee is to if you can use people with neurodiversity as part of that stress testing, just to hopefully increase that the usage of for those people. So again, it's just I know I've already said that, but just to re-emphasise you, so I appreciate on that. And just one for you, Adrian, just on the food waste collections. Obviously, I think it's great. I use it all the time. So we've had the target of introducing it. Is there going to be future targets going forward in terms of trying to increase the use? Because I know a number of my residents are still, and even my neighbours and so are still not using them. Is there going to be a future drive to increase the usage of those, and are we going to monitor that going forward?
Through you, Chair, could I first of all obviously just pick up on the point that Councillor Green made in terms of the thanks to individual officers, and wherever those names are in the public domain, those thanks will be passed down to those individual officers, because I'm just the front man for the organisation, and it's been a privilege to hold this role. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned, the delivery on a day-to-day basis is not only the heads of service, but the lead and team leader members and the individual staff. With regard to food waste, again, I think and Chris will be able to actually put the details in. It got implemented from the 13th of April. I think there's a 3-month review to see how we're going, and the amount of information that is supplied to my monthly team meeting is based on, in effect, a week basis. So far, we've had, I think, 10 weeks of the food waste collection service, and participation rates, I think, vary between 30 and 50 odd %. There's still a lot way to go, but it's a relatively new service. But we're trying to encourage, because it's a national government initiative, greater participation. I don't know whether Chris has got anything to add.
I'm not sure I do, to be fair. It seems to be going quite well. Obviously, the more people that we can get to join in, the better. So there's definitely some work to do.
Like I said, I think it's been really positive actually. It's brilliant because my indoor bins are a lot more fragrant than it used to be, put it that way. So, and just on you, Chris, just for you to pass on thanks. I know Sean and Arthur. Again, you've got 2 superb guys there who are massively helpful as well. So, and I was pass on thanks to you, but just you can pass on to Sean and Arthur as well for the excellent work they do. So, thanks so much for that.
Thank you, Councillor Singh.
Just a couple of quick questions, but firstly, obviously, second what Russ has mentioned there. So Adrian, I think you've got a brilliant team behind you, and credit to them all. Just like Russ, we all email, see heads of service, directors at unsociable hours, and you probably hate us all by now, but we'll leave that for another day, that conversation. No, my question is just following off from Russ's question, in particular to the waste collections. Did you say it was 216,000 tonnes?
Through you, Chair, I think it's 260 tonnes of food waste so far, and it's an overall participation rate of 38%. 630.4 tonnes of food waste collected as at the end of last week. Just to clarify, it's not thousands of tonnes, it's 630.4.
That's okay. No, I think that's great. I think one point is, if it's possible, obviously, to advertise out on social media in terms of how many full bin bags that is. I think that would relate more to people if they can see, oh wow, it's X amount of bin bags that we've collected. So just building off that, is there any particular area in the ward that's a lower participation rate?
If I can, obviously, on that first point, in terms of, I'm sure our comms team can actually reinforce that message to try and increase participation and the success, and put it into layman's terms rather than these headline bullet points that we have in the reports. I'm not sure whether we hold that. I think we do, but ask him.
Yeah, if I can, please, for the chair. So first of all, yeah, there's been a number of comments made about promoting this particular service. which, as we know, was introduced on the 13th of April. The key area of concentration initially has been to bed in that particular service and to ensure that we have the capacity, the machines, and obviously the staff to support the introduction of that service. It is a new service, and obviously there's a period of 3 months to allow that to bed in and address any particular teething issues. We do fully intend to market and promote that particular service after that period to ensure that maximum take-up or participation rate, wherever people wish to participate, has the opportunity to do that. Obviously, it is mandated by the government that this is a statutory service that the council has to provide, but it's not compelling on individual residents to participate. So it's incumbent upon the council to make sure that people have every opportunity to participate in that particular scheme. And as I mentioned, at the end of a 10-week period, there has been a cumulative 630 tonnes of food waste collected, and obviously that will continue. So just in relation to participation rates, they do vary. So it varies across the borough, and it varies from around 30-35% to probably around 50%. We do have that data at individual ward level, and we can share that. As I said earlier, we are still working on embedding this, and part of that data analysis and evidence is based on crew members actually capturing that information at the point at which they collect the food waste. And some of that requires reinforcing, and we need to make sure that people do use that technology at the point of collection, because ultimately that will give us insight and evidence to target particular marketing campaigns and to ensure that people have the opportunity to participate in those areas where the uptake is lower than where we expect it to be.
No, thank you for that. I think it's a good initiative that's begun, and I think obviously one thing we need to all take into account is there will be families, there will be people out there that don't have any food waste at all, so they won't be using the bin essentially. So what I'm trying to get to is we won't ever get to 100%, I think, but as we're progressing forward, getting higher percentage, then that's better. My next question was just one thing I've seen of other local councils is what they're doing is when you get to your last bag, you tie it on the handle and they'll give you another reel of bags, leave it obviously for the waste. I'm just wondering, is that something we could be looking into, just given that if people run out of bags, they may not be tempted to go and buy some new ones?
Asim, do you want to, on that particular point, because obviously we're negotiating with colleagues throughout Lancashire on this, but I know initially it was a 12-month supply of bags, but Asim?
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. We have supplied a pack, an introductory pack at the start of the scheme, which included a 7-litre caddy, a 23-litre caddy, and 2 rolls of liners, which from market analysis we felt was sufficient to enable people to participate and essentially have two bags per week. Obviously, people are welcome to purchase their own or alternative types of bags, because I know there's a kind of a preference to what type of bags people use. Just to confirm that there's some confusion about what happens to the polythene bag. That's essentially removed at the point of processing food waste, so it doesn't actually contaminate the food itself. So as Councillor Lowe has pointed out, this was something that was funded specifically by Lancashire County Council, who are trying to promote uptake in participation. Some local authorities don't provide liners. We opted to do that, and we've done that for, as I say, 2 rolls per year, and that will be replenished at the start of next year. But those discussions are ongoing with County Council to see whether there is any merit and incentive to ensure that we have alternative schemes, and we consider those as part of the options of the review once the service has been bedded in.
No, that's okay. So as soon as there's been any updates, if they can be passed along, be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any members have any other comments? Councillor Green?
Just one of the things I often say is just when you come to looking at publicising the use of the scheme again, if you could involve, you know, for me, it's involve the councillors as well, because, you know, we can then post that out onto our local, you know, Facebook and social networks as well, and do that bit of advertising for the council as well. So, it's, you know, just a, like I normally say, just use us as in terms of promotion methods as well. So, thanks, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you to all the executive members and officers for their attendance. We've made some notes of recommendations, but does anyone have anything else they'd like to add for this report? Is everyone therefore happy to note the report? Excellent, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 5, revenue budget outturn and reserves position 25-26. Councillor Peter Wilson, Executive Member for Resources, will present the report, supported by Neil Holton, Director of Finance and Section 151 Officer. I'd now like to invite Councillor Wilson to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So as the summary outlines, we can see that we have, based on the position at 31st of March this year, we have a underspend of £1.3 million. That's over the year, of course. So we've already reported each quarter on some of that. So we can see in the report that it says there that we already had an underspend, of which we allocated £250,000 of that to the capital repairs and maintenance reserves. In quarter 2, we had quarter 3 rather, we had the £600,000 underspend which we allocated to the local government reorganisation reserve, because we've been given very, very clear guidance from central government that each council has to pay for it, which is very kind of them, and that'll be somewhere in the region of about £750,000. So the £600,000 was allocated in quarter 3, and then of course we now come to the point where we have the final quarter report, and again there's more underspend there. So the proposal in the report is that the 150,000 goes to the topping up that 600 for the local government reorganisation, so that hopefully is now covered, and then the remainder of the underspends in the last quarter goes into the general fund balances, so they now sit at £4.6 million. In the report itself, it highlights where those underspends have come from, broken down by directorate. So again, you can see the basic overview on page 55. There are details then to follow in the subsequent pages. But the biggest single contributor there is from planning, and that's been the increase in planning fees well above and beyond what we budgeted for. We've also seen significant savings, as Councillor Lowe just referred to, in customer and digital, which is all to be welcome. And then in each department, we can see that there has been some underspends. Now, some of that actually, Chair, has come from using other resources. So obviously, at the start of the year, the budget was provided, but in the end, some monies might have been covered from, let's say, UK SPF funds or something like that to fill a particular staff post. So again, we don't need to use our own monies. So it's not necessarily that this is just huge estimations that are made at the start of the year that are wrong. It's just because other pots of money have been used in instead of, as well as we mentioned, some increases in revenue and some efficiencies. But as I say, the report then breaks down department by department each of those areas. I don't intend to go through each one unless members have specific questions, of course, which we're willing to look at. Where that leaves us, as I mentioned before, in terms of the overall balances, that now stands at 4.6 million. Again, that's healthier than where we've been before. We always set, many years ago, we set the target of always having at least 4 million in the general fund. Obviously, we are now quite significantly in excess of that. So again, there's maybe decisions to be made there as we approach the next budget setting process. And then in the earmarked reserves, again, the closing balance at the end of March there is just shy of £10 million. Again, a slight improvement on where we were probably 12 months ago with that. That did actually get reduced. But again, those earmarked reserves are there for specific reasons, whether that's covering some of the assets that we have, such as Market Walk, whether that's there being ready for change, such as a change in personnel, change in management structures, as well as then other reserves which are set deliberately against certain targets of this council, such as the climate change, and business investment as well, which is a big thing for this council. So that's just an overview of the revenue budget, Chair. I'll say no more at this stage.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite our members for any questions. Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Once again, thank you for a comprehensive report. In terms of the out-term position, I think the teams have all done fantastic with that. I think it shows a really good position when you align that to the performance that we've just seen as well. I think everybody needs to be congratulated on that, and that's obviously assisted the council position going forward. And the proposal you talked about what to do with those additional, with the underspent, it seems absolutely sensible to me. My question is a bit more, taking that performance as it is and the underspend, and there are comments in the report about recruitment, etc., and then thinking about LGR. So one of the things going around in my head is about how we protect the current staff that we've got. And we obviously don't know what's going to happen exactly with LGR as yet, but potentially we've got staff that will be at risk depending on what happens. And I just wonder a couple of things. If we are continuing with the recruitment programme and our performance is okay as it currently is, and we've got staff potentially at risk, do we need to start to think about at-risk registers for current staff going into the future, because we don't know what that exactly looks like? I think that's just the bit that I'm toying in my head with, as to there's something I think we need to consider as a council within that. It's just, but obviously this doesn't give us the current recruitment that's underway and who's in the pipeline and whatnot.
If I may, Chair, I think there's the overall thing about local government reform, but just before we get to that, I think in terms of recruitment that you refer to, you've got some areas where we are doing very well and we don't have necessarily problems with recruiting, and then you've got certain areas where it is a constant battle, particularly you've got certain specialisms, and people often come into the local authority, and I actually think this is a good thing personally, but they come into the local authority and they develop a range of skills, and then they realise they can go and do a lot better somewhere else, and what's wrong with that? You know, all power to their elbow. But where you do have certain specialisms, let's say in planning or things like quantity surveyors and stuff that you need for build, you know, in certain areas, it's difficult to recruit. So there is gaps. Now, arguably, you could flip the argument on the head there in terms of local government reform and say, well, as a bigger authority, you might have more ability to actually recruit people of quality, because obviously you can pay more and there's a bigger job to be done, and so on and so forth. We'll have to wait and see on that. What we have noticed is, since we've done the shared services with South Ribble, when we are recruiting to posts that are in the shared service, particularly at director level or senior management level, we are getting a better range of candidates. There's no question of that. So there's no doubt it does attract people in. So as I say, so the flip side of that is maybe we can attract better people to the new authority, as in whatever shape that takes, which we shall find out soon, which leads to the next point, which is local government reform. Obviously, the first thing is we need to find out what the position is. I think we're told it's end of this month, early July, when we're going to find out, so it is a matter of weeks. That then will set the process running once we've decided in the geographical split of the councils, in terms of committees being set up or working groups being set up to actually look at setting up the new authorities, and of course then the transfer of staff, which will be, obviously people will be transferred over because there'll be the tuber arrangements in place. But it's going to be a weird mix, isn't it? Because we focus on obviously our side of things, and you've got the whole county council set of staff as well, and you know, some of those will be making choices as to where they want to go in the new Lancashire. I mean, at the minute they serve the whole of Lancashire, but they're gonna, if let's say it's 4 authorities across Lancashire, they've got to decide where they're going. One of the comments that our chief executive has made in the past is that as often as not, in places where this happens, you sometimes end up with a shortage because a lot take the opportunity to move on. And the problem with that, again, coming back to I think the original point, is you end up with a shortage in certain areas and maybe plenty of people in others. So it really is uncharted waters. But as I say, there are going to be those, and we're currently having discussions about the size and shape of those groups that will be established as soon as we get the announcement to actually start getting into the detail of this. So it's going to be a moving feast, really, and it's sort of very much us all learning a bit as well.
There is, thank you. I think with that we do need to consider, when we know what it looks like, how we do protect not just the Chorley staff, but the staff, as it's going to be a difficult process for everybody anyway, isn't it? But what you don't want to end up as an exodus. So there is something about really looking after staff through that process. There's a balance, isn't there? But you don't equally want to recruit to a department and then find out in a few weeks you've got somebody over here that could have had that job and is then at risk. I think that's the bit that I just want to, working with all the current councils together.
I think Neil would like to come in here, if that's okay.
Just a couple of comments. One on vacancies. I think it's always tricky when we bring an out-term report this time of year, when in the budget report we've already made fit for the future savings, which impact some of those underspends. So some of those underspends will already have been taken in some of those options around fit for the future. So often, sometimes you generate an underspend because you've achieved that fit for the future target a little bit earlier. And certainly some of the vacancies here have since been taken in the budget setting process that we've been through. I think just a point on the at-risk side of things of local reorganisation, I don't think that is anything imminent in terms of the vesting day period for other than, let's be frank, very senior officers likely chief execs, directors of finance, for example, will absolutely be in those positions. But for the vast majority of staff, that at-risk will not appear there at that process. They will tube into new organisations. So that's not something that is an imminent issue for the vast majority of staff other than at senior levels and doesn't constitute what was in the bids or the implementation plans. I think for almost all the models, frankly, the 2, 3, 4 and 5, whichever's picked. So I don't think that's an immediate kind of risk for staff at all.
No, I understand that. And yes, thank you for the point about the underspends already being taken, some of them being taken in next year's savings. It's more the recruitment, because the report does say that we're recruiting in some areas. It's more that recruitment side, even in those areas that may not be at risk now, if we continue to, there's just something about having that forward plan, isn't there? So that we don't recruit where potentially we don't need to if there are other people who are capable of doing those roles. It's not missing the opportunities as well.
It's a fair point, and we've already done that in one respect just recently with our Director of Governance, you know. So you're absolutely right, you have to start looking.
Thank you. Councillor Singh, please.
Just a quick question on agenda page 66. At the bottom, obviously, it mentions the £9 grand relating to the mayoral charities. Is that, how's that come about? It just doesn't seem much. I don't know. In terms of the reserves, the earmark reserves, I don't.
So yeah, so the mayoral, what's the, I'm just thinking, Neil, what's the, I mean, obviously the reserve there for mayoral charities, but that only covers a small element, doesn't it, in that sense? But go on, sorry, yeah, Neil.
So because we don't have a separate fund for the mayor, we run the funds through the council's accounts. It was just a surplus that was generated at that point in time. That's usually then dispersed later on. It's usually given away to charities across the year. It's just the timing of when it comes in. But we don't operate it separately. It runs through the council's accounts, the mayoral charity.
No, that's okay. And obviously it's pleased to hear that it does get distributed out to other charities at least. That's good to know. No, I think that was it. It was just that.
Mayor would never let us not give it away, you know, they're killers, you know.
Councillor Green, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just in terms of recruitment, I think actually there is an opportunity actually to help a situation that's quite difficult at the moment in time for young people through apprenticeships, and we've heard a number of examples today, like Alison and Nathan are on planning there where they've brought people self-training up. So I think it's just for me just probably always saying the obvious to you guys, but you know, in terms of if we could use that as an opportunity where we can to bring young people in and train them up, you know, I think it's quite. I just looking at what the lie of the land out there is. It's quite difficult for young people getting jobs, or, you know, and so again, it's an opportunity. You know, necessarily just going out and getting experienced people. If we can bring them in and train them up, you know.
I mean, as you just made reference, we do apprenticeships, and you're right. As the organisation changes and gets bigger, there's more opportunities potentially. I think there's always two important things with apprenticeships. First is you've got to accept some will fall out, and they always will. That's life. And the second thing is what we're always keen on is yes, have apprenticeships, but there's got to be some realistic opportunities to follow as well, because otherwise you get into that sort of box ticking game, And that's not what it's about. It's about actually giving people the skills, but knowing that there are some. So I'm not saying you can provide guarantees of jobs to follow, but you've got to have some opportunities to follow as well. Otherwise, I think you're letting the person down to an extent as well.
Any other further comments or questions? Councillor Snape?
Just one on page 57, just from my understanding, it says 35k additional DFG admin income following the increase in DFGs. I do recall, you might not know the answer, but I said you know everything. I do recall, I thought there was an announcement last year from the government and a consultation about rolling out additional funding to local authorities for DFGs. I just wondered, is that 35k a result of that, or is it a one-off or something different? And have we seen the product of that?
Yeah, well, no.
So I think government for the last couple of years have actually announced a top up to DFG funding each year. So we've had a bit of extra funding each of the last couple of years. Effectively, the admin fee is a percentage of what we manage to spend overall. So this year we managed to process more DFGs than we've ever done before. So it's a percentage of that overall figure. So regardless of the grant funding, and in previous years we've struggled to get to the kind of spend levels this year, we've really spent a lot of money this year. And as a result, that percentage just falls from our overall value of DFGs that we've allocated.
Thank you. Is there any further comments or questions? Excellent. Thank you to the executive members and the officers for their attendance and for the interesting reports and answering our questions. Have we got any further recommendations that we wish to make to this report? No? Fabulous. Are we all happy to note the report? Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6, capital and balance sheet outturn 25-26. Councillor Peter Wilson, Executive Member for Resources, will present the report, supported by Neil Holton, Director of Finance and Section 151 Officer. I'd like to invite Councillor Wilson to present the report, please.
Thank you very much. So the report outlines the capital programme. At the end of the quarter, we can see that at the end of quarter 3, we were a capital programme of just over £50 million. That has now been reduced at 31st of March 2026 to just in excess of £10 million. So the variations primarily come from reprofiling and slippage. So that really is a question just of timing. So we're not actually a question of schemes or programmes being ditched or changed. It is very much a question of timing, but we can see there on the page 80 the breakdown of where those schemes in the slippage come from, and we can see that amounts to that £5.1 million, and therefore we've got the obvious reduction in the expenditure in the current quarter that we're reporting on. So a number of areas where clearly schemes such as, like say, the town centre work that we're proposing, that again has been put back from where we thought at the start of the year. Likewise, we've just approved the work or the approval for houses at Woodlands. That was another example of something that had been slipped back into in the scheme, and we can see various other examples in the report which again cover that £5 million change from the previous quarter. In terms of the levels, if I just, sorry, Chair, I just lost my page. I'll get back to it very, very quickly. There we go. So in terms of the borrowing and investments, we can see that our borrowing costs, our net borrowing costs have actually gone down slightly from the original budget position in 25-26. And that's mainly really to do with the fact that minimum revenue provision, again, is not as quite exactly where we thought. Overall borrowing, we can see the total borrowing for the council has increased, it's decreased even, from March 25 to March 26. And as I say, the borrowing costs have fallen slightly with it. And then referring back to the conversation that we had earlier under the performance report, we can see that the collection rates on council tax currently stand at 96.74% against last year's position at 96.8%, so 0.1% difference, but a slight difference. And then on business rates, again, we can see a slight decrease, but only by half a percentage point. So I think in the current climate, I think that's obviously a relatively positive thing. As I say, when we compare ourselves with our neighbours, we're performing very strongly in terms of those collection rates. And that's all, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do any of our members have any questions? Councillor Singh?
I'll keep it quick because I know it's getting warm in here. That's just not from our questions. Out of these schemes that you've listed out, what would you say is going to have the biggest impact to the residents? In terms of them being
what we're going to deliver.
In terms of them obviously being delayed and pushing them back, I'm just thinking.
Well, I mean, if, for example, I mean, there's a number of schemes there that, as I say, so for example, the Woodlands development site we've had in the programme, that's now going to start. So obviously that's there. There's a number of schemes that just because they haven't started at the time we anticipated, we certainly don't want to drop. So I think members might be very concerned if, in Clayton, if we suddenly ditch the money for the CCTV improvements. So I think it's important that we don't let sort of slight delays or issues, but a lot of that depends on partners. So you know, you are always waiting for others. So the food waste, for example, the vehicles that came in, again we've seen that now that started, but again that's something that we've reported in the past and had slipped. So and then the work on the leisure centres again being another significant example of that. So I think the most important thing when you're doing the major projects particularly is that you get them right and you make sure you get them right. And if that means that it doesn't start necessarily the time that you predicted at the start of the year, well, so be it. But don't forget, when you're setting these budgets at the start of the year and you're allocating your capital programme, you are giving yourself the room to do it in that period. There'll be nothing worse than sort of not allocating it and then realising actually that time is of the essence and you need to be getting moving, you know, it's in your quarter 3 or quarter 4. So it's better to allocate early, even if it slips back, than the other way around.
No, that's okay. And I think speaking on behalf of everyone, we can all accept a delay. That's no problems. It's obviously when it comes to when, like I said, projects start dropping off, which is the last thing we want to see. But no, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Green?
Just for clarity, this was the same report reported to the Executive Cabinet, wasn't it, just recently?
Yes.
So I've raised a number of questions in relation to that prior, so there's no point in me, I don't see the point in raising that.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Is any other further comments or questions? No. So thank you again for that report and to the executive members and officers for attending. Do we have any recommendations or actions for the report? No. Is everybody happy to agree? Are we all happy to note the report? Okay. Moving on to item number 7, any urgent business. I've not been made aware of any urgent business to raise. The date of the next meeting will be held on Thursday the 24th of September 2026 at 6:30. Thank you everybody for attending, and this meeting is now closed.
The cabinet will last